The film opens in a research lab in Cambridge, where animal liberation activists break in with the intention of freeing chimpanzees subjected to experiments. The activists, driven by a desire to stop animal cruelty, encounter a scientist who desperately tries to stop them, explaining that the chimpanzees are infected with a highly contagious virus called rage. This virus induces extreme aggression and is transmitted through blood and saliva. Ignoring his warnings, the activists release a chimpanzee, which immediately attacks and infects them, setting off a chain reaction of violence and infection. This chaotic scene establishes the devastating potential of the virus and the recklessness that leads to its release. 28 days after the initial outbreak, Jim, a bicycle courier, awakens from a coma in St. Thomas Hospital, in London. The hospital is eerily silent and abandoned. Confused and disoriented, Jim wanders through the empty halls and eventually makes his way outside. He exits the hospital and steps into the streets of London, which are equally desolate. Jim's walk through the empty streets of London is one of the most iconic sequences in the film. The camera captures wide shots of Jim navigating through eerily silent landmarks, including Westminster Bridge, Piccadilly Circus, and the Houses of Parliament. Jim's isolation is palpable as he shouts for help, his voice echoing through the empty cityscape with no response. The usually bustling city is devoid of life, with abandoned vehicles and debris littering the streets. Jim's wanderings lead him to a church, where he hopes to find someone who can explain what has happened. Inside, he encounters a horrifying scene. The pews are filled with dead bodies, piled haphazardly. As Jim calls out, "Hello?" several bodies suddenly stir, revealing themselves to be infected, and they quickly charge at him. Terrified, he retreats out of the church and into the street, where he is pursued by a group of infected individuals. Fleeing from the infected, Jim is rescued by two survivors, Selena and Mark. They take him to their hideout, where they provide him with essential information about the outbreak. Selena and Mark explain that the rage virus spread rapidly, causing societal collapse. They are hardened by their experiences, having lost their families and been forced into a survivalist mentality. They emphasize the importance of avoiding contact with the infected and the need for ruthless survival tactics. Selena, in particular, is portrayed as a pragmatic and hardened survivor, willing to do whatever it takes to stay alive. The next morning, the trio heads to the neighborhood where Jim's parents lived, as Jim desperately wants to find out if they are still alive. They cautiously navigate the streets of London, moving carefully to avoid attracting the attention of the infected. Upon arriving at Jim's parents' house, they discover that his parents have died from an overdose of sleeping pills. Heartbroken, Jim is devastated by the sight. Selena suggests they stay in the house for the night. As they settle down to sleep, Jim goes to the living room, where he is suddenly attacked by an infected individual. Selena and Mark rush to his aid, but in the chaos, Mark is bitten. Without hesitation, Selena kills Mark to prevent him from turning, shocking Jim with her swift and ruthless decision. Selena decides they must leave immediately, fearing more infected will arrive. As they move through the city, she explains to Jim that survival in this new world demands hard choices and ruthless actions. She bluntly tells him that if he ever gets infected, she will kill him without hesitation. Selena emphasizes that there is no room for hesitation or sentimentality when facing the infected, as any delay could mean death for the entire group. Jim and Selena notice a blinking light from a high-rise apartment fortified with makeshift barricades. They climb over the barricade and start ascending the stairs when they hear the sounds of infected approaching. Rushing upward, they are met by a man who helps fend off the infected and leads them into his apartment. The man introduces himself as Frank, and inside the apartment, they meet his daughter, Hannah. Frank offers them food, drinks, and a place to sleep. The next morning, Frank shares a pre-recorded radio broadcast promising safety and a cure at a military blockade near Manchester. The message instills hope, presenting a potential sanctuary from the horrors they've endured. Determined to find this refuge, they decide to embark on the perilous journey together. The four set off in Frank's car, heading towards the military blockade near Manchester. One of the tensest scenes on their journey involves driving through a dark, enclosed tunnel. Frank decides to take this risky route, believing it to be a shortcut. As they drive over debris and abandoned cars, a tire blows out. The scene becomes frantic as they work quickly to change the tire while infected rats and eventually infected humans close in on them. Frank's calm under pressure and quick thinking help them narrowly escape. A poignant moment occurs when they make a supply run to a deserted supermarket. The scene serves as a rare moment of levity and normalcy. The supermarket, untouched by looters, is fully stocked, and the group takes advantage of the bounty. Along the way, they stop at a gas station to fill up their containers. While Frank is getting gas, Jim enters the store despite Selena's warnings. Inside, he is attacked by a rabid boy whom he is forced to kill. After Frank finishes filling the gas cans, they continue their journey. They find a safe location to enjoy a meal and sleep for the night. The next morning, they resume their trip to the military blockade in Manchester. Upon arriving, they find the blockade deserted, much to Frank's disappointment. While looking around, Frank is infected when a drop of blood from an infected individual falls into his eye. Realizing he is infected, Frank's demeanor shifts from relief to panic. He desperately tries to warn Hannah to stay away, but the transformation is swift. His final moments are heartbreaking as he struggles to maintain control and protect his daughter. As Frank is about to attack Hannah, soldiers arrive and kill him. The soldiers then escort the three to their blockade. Exhausted and grieving, they arrive at the fortified mansion. They are met by more well-equipped and organized soldiers, led by Major Henry West. The soldiers take them inside, offering food, clean clothes, and medical attention. The relative normalcy of the compound stands in stark contrast to the chaos they have faced outside. As Jim explores the mansion, he becomes increasingly uneasy. He discovers Private Mailer, a soldier chained up in the yard. Mailer has been infected with the rage virus and is kept alive for observation. West explains that they are studying Mailer to understand the virus better. This encounter deeply unsettles Jim, as it highlights the soldier's willingness to engage in morally questionable experiments. That night, Major West reveals his true intentions to Jim. In a chilling conversation, West explains that his broadcast promising safety and a cure was a trap to lure survivors, particularly women, to the compound. His plan is to use Selena and Hannah as breeding stock to repopulate the world, believing that restarting the human race is their only hope. Jim is horrified by this revelation, realizing that the soldiers see Selena and Hannah as mere tools for their survival. West's justification underscores his belief in the necessity of such extreme measures, revealing a pragmatic yet morally bankrupt mindset. Jim tries to warn Selena and Hannah, but they are quickly overpowered by the soldiers. Jim is beaten and taken outside the compound, along with Sergeant Farrell, who has expressed doubts about West's plan. The soldiers lead them into the woods, intending to execute them. Farrell argues with West, asserting that the real crisis might be larger than they comprehend and that repopulation might be a futile endeavor. During the execution attempt, Jim manages to escape by outmaneuvering the soldiers and fleeing into the forest. Jim's escape into the forest marks a turning point in his character. He transitions from a passive survivor to a proactive and determined protector. The visual shift in the film, from the confines of the compound to the open, chaotic natural environment, mirrors Jim's psychological transformation. He uses his environment to his advantage, setting traps and ambushing the soldiers with a newfound ferocity. Jim's strategic and violent actions show his deep commitment to saving Selena and Hannah, even if it means becoming as ruthless as their oppressors. Under the cover of night, Jim returns to the compound. He releases Mailer, the infected soldier, to create chaos and distract the other soldiers. Mailer's rampage through the mansion is brutal and swift, spreading the infection and turning the soldiers' own tactics against them. In the ensuing confusion, Jim sneaks into the building, using the chaos to his advantage. Jim finds Selena and Hannah being held captive. He fights off the soldiers guarding them with a savage intensity. In one particularly tense scene, Selena momentarily mistakes Jim for being infected due to his blood-soaked and wild appearance. She hesitates, machete in hand, but Jim's gentle reassurance calms her. This moment underscores the thin line between humanity and savagery that the characters are constantly navigating. The climax unfolds as Jim confronts Major West. After freeing Selena and Hannah, Jim tries to flee with them in Frank's cab. West intervenes, shooting Jim and briefly gaining control of the situation. In a tense turn of events, Hannah outsmarts West by reversing the cab towards Mailer, who is still wreaking havoc outside. Caught off guard, West is pulled from the car and meets a brutal end at the hands of the infected soldier. Jim, Selena, and Hannah seize the opportunity to escape the compound. The film's epilogue is set sometime after their escape. The three are living in a rural cottage, having found a measure of peace and safety. They have managed to create a semblance of normalcy and hope in the midst of the apocalypse. They sew a giant hello sign out of cloth, hoping to attract the attention of any passing aircraft. The serene countryside contrasts sharply with the earlier urban chaos, suggesting a fragile hope. The final scene, where a fighter jet flies overhead, indicates that there are still remnants of organized society and offers a glimmer of rescue and recovery. The ending is intentionally ambiguous but leans towards optimism, suggesting that despite the horrors they have endured, there is still a chance for a better future. 28 Days Later explores profound themes such as the fragility of civilization, the primal instincts that surface in extreme situations, and the moral dilemmas of survival. The film questions what it means to be human when stripped of societal norms and structures. The fast-moving, rage-filled Infected introduced a new take on the zombie genre, influencing many subsequent films and shows. The raw and gritty visual style, combined with the intense performances and atmospheric score, creates a visceral and immersive experience. Danny Boyle's direction and Alex Garland's writing elevate the film, making it a significant and influential work in modern horror cinema. The film's legacy lies in its ability to blend horror with social commentary, providing a thought-provoking and thrilling experience. More exciting movies to come, so please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and click the thumbs like icon. Thanks for watching.